Guys, I got a duck in my pond. I don't know who put it here. It's obviously a joke, but I kind of don't hate it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Duck or no duck? And yes, it's also raining in the middle of June, which is awesome, but the pond is looking pretty good, so we're gonna check it out here. One thing you will notice is that you do hear a little bit more noise from the filter, and that's because I actually redid the filter. So here's the old one. I swapped it out. See the holes down here, how they're that far away from this crease here? Well, I redid it and made the holes up at the top of where that crease is. Kind of hard to tell with the camera, maybe you can see that. But this was the alternative to getting a new pump. You remember in the last video I wanted to create a little bit more oxygenation, and the holes being much lower than they were, there wasn't that noise from the filter, which was nice, but I feel like now the whole system is just going to be better off with this type of a setup. And I don't mind the noise. I kind of like it. It's peaceful, you know, it's that pond vibe. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't been that long since the last update video, so not a lot has changed. The Laguigia is still probably the most aggressive grower as far as the pond plants go. It's starting to spread out here in the middle. I might cut this back and maybe replant them, or maybe put some over here in the edge of this pot. That might be kind of cool, but not sure yet. The mint plant that we previously put in here that wilted like immediately has started to come back, but this topmost vertical growth is still, I don't know, I might have to just cut that off. The rest of the plant is starting to perk up though, and the stems are a lot more rigid. This is the only little piece I don't think it's gonna come back, but it's all good. But yeah, I don't know, maybe having the duck in here, it'll act as like a decoy and he'll attract real ducks to come to the pond. I mean, this pond isn't big enough to actually bring in some ducks, but maybe we can trick them with this guy and bring him in. That'd be pretty cool. Anyway, that's just a little quick update for the pond, guys. I'm gonna get out of here because it's raining. There's water all over my camera. Let's run inside. Since the 33 is the closest tank to the door that leads out to the pond, and because it's looking pretty dang good, I think we're gonna spend the rest of the time talking about this tank and doing a little bit of work on it. And before I forget, guys, the tank right next to it has a special surprise in it, so it's gonna be the next video, I swear. Okay, I don't want to give it away, but make sure you're subscribed and you have notifications on. When this video drops, you're gonna know it, so be prepared. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. Let's get back over here. This tank right here is probably the favorite one that I have out of all my collection. I like it more than the desert tank. I like it more than the sand waterfall tank, only because it has fish in it. Once we get our fish over into the sand waterfall tank, then that will probably take over as my favorite tank. As that tank continues to mature and the Monte Carlo starts to perk up and do really well in it, that's definitely going to be my favorite. But this tank is just so fun to watch, to kick back on the couch and take that all in. I absolutely love it. I know that most of you guys are very familiar with this tank. We cover it fairly frequently, but just in case you're new, this is a 33-gallon tank that I took the rim off. We have Glossostigma as the main carpet here, which we do need to trim in just a second. There's Pinnatophyta, Hygro Pinnatophyta in here. There's Christmas moss on spiderwood, which kind of makes up the main hardscape. And is that it? The substrate is a mix of earthworm castings on the bottom, Akadama on the top, and we have a bunch of cherry barbs in here, as well as some Amano shrimp and a couple of Siamese algae eaters that are getting a little too big for this tank. There's also a couple cory cats in here somewhere. I don't know, they're good at hiding. There's one right there. I run this as a high-tech tank, so we're pumping in a lot of CO2 right there next to the algae eater. I also dose a complete fertilizer a few times a week, and water changes on this tank vary because it's so mature. It's been set up for almost a year now. I typically do a water change, I do a 50 to 80% water change like every 2 weeks, and I don't need to do it that frequently, but because I'm dosing fertilizers, it just helps keep everything in check. Before I get in the tank and give it a little haircut, let's go ahead and feed our fish. I think it's time for a fish eating montage. What do you guys say? Let's grab some brine shrimp and some frozen bloodworms, just a cube or two. Let's also get some tubifex worms. These cherry barbs are just really fun, guys. Great beginner fish, highly recommend them to anybody who's looking for a smaller size fish that's colorful and can go in pretty much any size and type of tank. Anyway, we still got to get some work done in here. We got to do a lot of trimming. I just found my scissors, so let's get to it. About 30 minutes of maintenance or so later, the tank is done. I just got done with a water change, but you'll notice that the glosso carpet is trimmed way down. Looks a lot better. I added in a few sticks of manzanita wood here just to kind of make this piece a little bit more 3D. The big problem here, well, I shouldn't say problem, but just the thing you'll notice is that this wood is a lot lighter. It's because it's brand new. It needs to go through the process of getting waterlogged and seasoned to kind of match the spider wood in here. But in probably a few weeks, if not like a month or so, you shouldn't be able to tell the difference. It'll all look the same. I also cut out probably 7 or 8 pieces of Pinnatifida here. We can replant that somewhere else. Just kind of cleaned it up and wanted to keep things uniform. Some of the pieces were getting a little too tall for my liking, but another thing we did was I thinned out a little bit of the moss and just sort of refilled my moss bucket over here. It was getting a little bushy, so went in and just pulled some off, literally with my finger, and then kind of snipped some of the longer pieces off. And then I grabbed my toothbrush and I cleaned all the algae off the glass. There was quite a bit on the back as well as the sides here, so got all that off. That takes the longest amount of time. Got to drain the tank down a little bit so you don't splash everywhere, and it just takes a while. So we got that out of the way, and now we're good for probably another month without having to do any heavy maintenance on this tank. It's just something that you have to do on a tank that has a carpet like this. See down in here, the yellowing effect that you get when plants get a little bit too tall, the lower stuff dies off. You have to refresh it. You have to cut off all those new vertical growths, and like I've said before, it can be really tough. I mean, if I would have waited another month and then done maintenance, the trim, the same kind of trim that I did here, would have left this bottom portion just completely yellow, like you guys have seen before. So it pays to get in there and do the maintenance when you know you should. Don't be lazy. I have that problem a lot, but it's just something that you have to suck it up and just do it, because the end result is you being able to enjoy your tank for a longer period of time. All right, guys, back out at the pond. It's only like 2 days later, and it's absolutely beautiful. We got past that rain, thank goodness. But check it out. I just got back from the local fish store with a culture of Daphnia. Remember, we don't have any fish in here yet, just a fake duck. But what I thought would be kind of cool to try is see if we can get a culture of Daphnia established here in the pond before we put fish in. Okay, because if we put in fish, they're just going to eat all the Daphnia. They're a great food source. All of my fish inside would absolutely love to get regular feedings of Daphnia. So we're gonna try it. I don't know if it's really gonna work. Daphnia are super sensitive though, and they can be kind of tough to grow. I've tried it a couple times with mixed success in the past, at least outdoors in a bucket type of a deal. And we're just gonna kind of wing it and see what happens. Corey over at Aquarium Co-op is really good at doing this, and if I am remembering correctly, he grows these guys in basically big green water tubs, huge tubs, okay? And so I don't know if this is really gonna work out too well, but you can see there's just millions of them in here. And actually, let's see if we can see it. There's actually a live bloodworm in here. I've never seen a living bloodworm. Let's see if we can spot it. You guys see that thing wiggling around in there? I can't really see it through my lens on the camera, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, let's pour them in. There's so many of them in here right now. This is crazy. So hopefully we can get the culture going in here and we just get millions and millions and billions of them. And then as soon as we put fish in here, we'll take a bunch out beforehand and we'll start a culture somewhere else. Hopefully keep it going, and that way the fish inside will have a constant stream of food, and the fish that we put in here will have a great source of food right away. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. You got to see a couple shots of the pond. You got to see me do some maintenance here on the 33, the nature aquarium. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the like button and also hit the notification bell so you know when I upload the next video. Don't forget, it's going to be a surprise over here on the tank to the right. The 6-gallon Ascent tank or whatever the heck it's called. If you guys want to help support the channel, check the links down in the description for Patreon, for t-shirts, and for the associated products that are on this tank. All of that stuff really helps out a ton, guys. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for that. It's only gonna help me to bring you guys new and fun content that you wanna see. Patreon has been picking up a little bit. I don't shout it out that often, but the people over there that have decided that the videos that I bring to them is worth a monetary value each month, guys, that means so much to me. So thank you so much to all the people over on Patreon. Thanks again so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.